trying to open the gates of hell, but we won't back down. So yes, we'll stand our ground. We won't be pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear. If these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense, and if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. So we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Which requirement? Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
Well, let me know if it still has that error, Pat.
It does not. All right. Okay, we are live and welcome everybody. Let me get Philip in this scene here. Here we go. All right. So, welcome everyone. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and welcome to Erich Pratt. He's here to talk to us about an exciting event. This is the inaugural event, right, Erich?
It is. That's right. I tell you what, we have been asked for years by our members, why don't you guys have a national convention? And so we wanted to do this, and we're really excited. This is the year. We're doing it in Knoxville. It's easy to confuse that with Nashville. I even posted on my Instagram today, hey, see you in Nashville this week. And my team was like, Erich, it's in Knoxville.
It's not that easy when you're driving, but yeah.
Right. So I'm saying that so you don't hear Nashville, it's Knoxville. And, we've been asked, why did you choose Knoxville? Knoxville is such a family-oriented area. I mean, you can extend this, make it a family vacation. There's amusement parks, there's hiking, there's fishing, all kinds of things. It's a great place. Plus, it's very gun-friendly. So that was also very important to us, in addition to being kind of a centralized location. So anyway, August 17th and 18th, if you get there early for Friday, August 16th, if you're familiar with Johnny B, he is going to do a comedy night. and it's going to be fantastic. Johnny B's a very funny guy. If you've never seen his shtick, just go on YouTube and look up Spicy Friday. He does one every week. So he's doing this one live, and so we're very excited about that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what Goals is.
Absolutely. So it is a mixture of the SHOT Show, and maybe most of the people in on this call maybe have never had a chance to go to the SHOT Show. So here's a chance to go somewhere somewhat locally where you're going to have 200 vendors and guns and gear, more than 120,000 square feet of guns and gear. It's like a mini SHOT Show, but combined with the ability to have speakers and panels where you're going to get to meet a lot of the who's who in the gun rights movement. I mean, Phil Van Cleave will be there as a speaker and panelist. Woohoo! Um, you know, all kinds of folks that you guys may have, from Brandon Herrera to John Lovell of Warrior Poet Society, Dana Lash, some political types. Any of you watch Newsmax, there's going to be Chris Salcedo and Dan Ball will be there. There'll be some of the top political types like Mark Robinson running for governor,
Yes.
his lieutenant governor running for governor in North Carolina, and just some of the hardest, pro 2A attorney generals in the country, like Missouri's Andrew Bailey, who's fantastic. So anyway, there's just from the influencer side to the political side to also elected side, going to be a lot of folks there. So you'll get to meet these people, listen to what they have to say. So that's what Goals is. We wanted it to be a lot of fun. There's going to be music there. Easton Court performing on Saturday night. There'll be the comedy night, as I mentioned. So fun, fellowship, gun fellowship, and but also educational as well.
Yeah, I think that having those vendors there, all these gun manufacturers and stuff, was a great move on your part. It really was. That's something. Number one, going to a gun show is one thing, but going to the equivalent of the SHOT Show is a very different thing. Here you're talking to the manufacturers. You can come up and shake hands with some of the people that either make these guns or sell them from the company. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, it should be fun all the way around. It just sounds like it's going to be one thing after the other to do there. VCDL will have a table there.
Hey, Philip, it's great. It's great to have a SHOT Show that's not on lobby day.
That's
right.
The problem with SHOT Show. That's why we never can go.
That's right.
Although I think this year they changed it. This year they moved it out a week or something, so it was possible this year. And if they keep that up, then it won't clash with our lobby day. Historically, it's been a no-go. In fact, Mark Robinson I had him lined up to speak. Right, I think it was before he got elected the first time.
Yes.
He had that great speech that he gave, or that became, that went viral, where he was talking to city council, and that was just wonderful. So I thought, wow, what a great speaker. So, but as it turned out, the SHOT Show collided with that, and he had to choose between one or the other, and but he ended up going to the SHOT Show. But that's that was a tough time to get speakers.
He is a great speaker, and I pity the person who has to go right after him.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Bad enough going after you.
You're very kind. No, but he takes it to another level. Yeah.
So what does Goals stand for exactly, Erich?
So Gun Owners Advocacy and Leadership Summit. And I know that sounds real wonky, but there's the aspect, this is an important election year. And so part of it is we want to encourage people to do things that maybe they haven't done before. It could be, maybe taking, I realize for the VCDL crowd, this is probably not as much an issue, because you guys are very active. But we want to encourage people to activism and maybe even stepping out in ways that they've never done before, like maybe being a poll watcher, maybe bringing
Hmm.
people with you to vote,
Yeah.
maybe taking gun agnostics to the range, friends and family. Whatever it is, we want to give examples and encouragement that we're in this fight for the long haul. Yes, an important election this November. Actually, I have to remind people the election starts before November
Yes.
in many places. So you don't have to wait till election day anymore. Whether you love that or hate that, it's the reality. So
Take advantage of
election,
it.
take advantage of it, absolutely. But anyway, so that encompasses the just the panels and the speakers that we're going to have. But of course, I'd be quick to remind people we're going to have the vendors, the manufacturers, the fun shot show aspect to it as well. I'd like to say it's going to be Christmas in August.
Hey,
Yeah.
Eric,
So
Eric, by any chance, do they have a good scratch and dent section for the guns?
Yeah.
There will be one thing I should mention. There's going to be a kids zone, so we're going to have a place for kids to play with Nerf guns and things like that. We really wanted to make this a family-oriented thing, so that's something that I wanted to mention. So again, it's very family-oriented, and again, make it a extend your stay and check out some of the history in the area as well.
that's super. So you can shop and learn about how to be a better advocate and bring your family along to learn about maybe safety and advocacy and how to make this a better place for all of us, and then do a little fishing and sightseeing and things like that
Yeah.
along the way. So yeah,
Yeah.
super.
Yeah. And if you might want to, tell the people online a little bit more about GOA, I'm sure a lot of these members, I saw somebody came up said I'm a proud member of both groups. I'm sure there's a lot of that, but some people maybe have. Tell us what you guys are doing in the courts and at the federal level. Is there anything right now that's cooking?
Well, there's a lot that's cooking, and we're so glad to partner with you guys on a lot of the cases that we're involved in. That's been a real help because obviously these cases are expensive.
Yes.
So the fact that y'all have been able to join us is
Mhm.
really appreciated. One of
That
the
goes both ways.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Absolutely.
That's right.
It's a
Yeah, we've been
symbiotic.
doing some exciting cases in Virginia as well, Winchester, Roanoke. Yes, and
Anything at the federal
also,
level that's scary right now?
well, there's a lot of things that are scary at the
But
federal level.
realistically scary. I
Well,
mean,
if
they
you're
put in a
talking,
lot of crap, but some of it could have legs.
yeah, I think in terms of legislation, Uh, I honestly think the only thing that we're going to be seeing is offensive battles for us, which is very exciting. I mean, earlier this year in March, we were able to work with congressmen, and I tell you, it was not an easy battle, but this is the beauty of grassroots activism. We had a lot of people pushing for getting rid of the veterans gun ban. Technically, we didn't get rid of it, but we've defunded it, so it can no longer be enforced. That's where veterans go for counseling. They get a fiduciary appointed to handle their finances, and then bam, that gets their name put into the NICS system, and they lose their gun rights. That's happened to over 250,000 veterans. So we got that defunded, and we got a huge funding cut for the ATF, $122 million. And it was great because guys like Senator Dick Durbin, who's major anti-gun senator, was
Yeah.
livid about this. And he said, that's going to hurt ATF's ability to enforce gun control. And of course, we were like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
And
Yes. And the
That's
problem
the
with
whole
that.
point. But here's what's interesting. Bloomberg News said that the gun rights were the only conservative element in the conservative movement that won a victory on that funding bill when we got those two victories. And so I'm telling you,
Fantastic.
grassroots activism just makes a huge difference. And of course, being there on the front lines, because we had to do a lot of hand holding for some of these congressmen who were worried about the government shutting down and how that would make them look bad. And so they didn't want to fight. And so we had to kind of, chew on them a little bit and, put a light under their rears to push them. But in the end, we got those. So, all that to say, these are two victories because they're in funding bills. That means we need to keep pushing to keep them in the funding bills. So there's
And,
offensive battles. Um,
and that's a
I don't. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that's another example of what we just said earlier, like early voting. We said, well, take advantage of it. And, I don't think any of us like the idea of all the stuff they can put in a spending bill. I mean, I like that in Virginia, everything has to be on topic. You can't attach to a gun bill something about abortion or whatever. You just, or vice versa, can't do it. You can at the federal
Right.
government, and the fact that you're taking advantage of it, and
Yes.
you may as well. Why not?
In
something
answer
else
to one.
that, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No,
Something
go
else
ahead,
I'd like
Pat.
to shout out to GOA about is you're exposing the ATF doing things like digitizing the records that they've been taking from all of these gun stores that they've been shutting down, and the methods that they're using to shut down all of these gun stores for stupid clerical errors like transposing 2 digits on a zip code or something like that. So you've been really knocking it out of the ballpark on those things.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to say that we have 1,000 batting average on defending gun dealers who are being persecuted by the ATF, where they will go after them for these little clerical errors and try to put them out of business. Because what the ATF says is, well, they're willfully, um, I'm forgetting what the term is, but basically that they're, willfully, um,
Negligent or
getting.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. That there's a willful negligence there. They claim that this is resulting in guns getting into the hands of bad guys. And we can show in each of these cases that's not happening, that they're clerical errors. And every time we've come in to defend a dealer, the ATF has immediately stopped their revocation hearings.
Yeah, this from the
Um,
this from the ATF, who's lost how many guns? And
yes.
all kinds
And
of
They,
for those
paperwork mistakes.
and for
oh
those who
yeah.
remember Fast and Furious,
Oh
how
yes.
many guns went south of the border and
Hmm.
resulted in how many murders? Yeah, it's a bit much to take.
It is.
So yeah, quite the hypocrisy. So
Oh
those
yeah.
are some of the cases that we're involved in at the federal level. I think one of the other exciting cases that I think you guys are involved with is the Antonyuk case in New York, where we are fighting for um, to stop the state of New York from imposing all these extra requirements on people for getting concealed carry permits and for trying to basically redefine the whole state as a quote unquote sensitive
Yes.
place, which means
Yes.
they've turned it into a gun free zone. And here's what's exciting: we didn't exhaust the appeal process, and yet we bumped it up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, 99% of the time, will not take a case
Yes.
when you haven't exhausted all of your appeals. But in our case, they did take it up briefly and they sent it back to the lower court and they said, you're getting it wrong, get it right, and use our recent Rahimi case to get it right. So that is really good news because in the Rahimi case on page 5, they specifically said in that case that you cannot limit the Second Amendment to quote unquote responsible gun owners. It doesn't say that, or responsible Americans, because what they were trying to do is say in Rahimi or other states were trying to say, well, responsible means you don't have any parking tickets,
Yes.
or responsible means you don't hold politically incorrect views. I mean, you see how that could be abused. And so what New York was doing is saying, well, we have this good moral character test. We're looking to make sure people are responsible. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. So anyway, that's very exciting.
Yes.
Basically, the Supreme Court gave them a smack. And again, that's something that they never do until
That
you
is
go through
rare.
like the 5 or 6 years of appeals. So
Very
anyway,
rare. Yeah.
that was a big
Yeah.
win.
The Illinois assault weapon ban got up to them, and they said, "Nah, finish working on this."
Wouldn't
So,
wouldn't it be great if politicians had to go up against one of those type of rules where we got to make sure they're a good person before we put them in office?
oh, they would all be gone in New York. Well, hell, they would all be gone. All the Democrats would be gone in Virginia that are in the General Assembly. Every one of them would be gone.
Yeah.
Do we lose Eric?
We lost Erich.
He's in Florida. I know that, but
Yeah.
maybe we can find him again.
Well, there was
Yeah.
if I remember right, there was a gun store a number of years ago in Maryland. It was Valley View Guns, and the antis wrote this article about it, Death Valley, because it had so many thousands of gun sale violations, and it was like where people put in initials instead of a whole word and silly stuff like that. It was just clerical garbage, and but they were all over that. Oh, he's selling guns and he's not good. That gets
Hey,
There
Eric's
we go.
back. Oops.
Oh.
when he comes back, let's not
Technology.
anything so we don't jinx it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I hope their technology at their show is better than what Wilton is doing.
Well, he's in his car in Florida. God, I don't know, who knows where the nearest cell tower is.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's funny that it's in Knoxville, because many years ago when I was in the Navy, I asked a Navy buddy, I said, "Where are you from, Mark?" He said, "Oh, a little town. You never heard of it." I said, "Try me." He says, "Loudon, down in Tennessee." I said, "Oh, 30 minutes south of Knoxville, population 250 on a good day." He said, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I said, "I spent summers there as a kid."
Oh, I thought maybe your boat left from there.
We got Erich back.
All right. Let me get him back in the picture here.
Hey,
All right.
those
Yes.
electrons are getting lost from Florida.
And he doesn't have the orange safety stripe anymore either.
Technology is our friend. Yes.
Might be
Well,
your
lest I get booted again, one other thing about goals that would be important to mention, come prepared to do all that.
Oh,
Now that's a cliffhanger.
Wait a minute. Who owns this software, Pat?
I think it's his phone.
yeah,
We're not having any
Gary's
other
battery
problem.
might be-
guy.
When he comes
Yeah.
back, let's see if it's an Apple product.
Oh yeah, Pat, I've got your phone. I'm keeping it charged.
Okay.
I haven't seen you, so if nothing else, I guess I'll give it to you when we head to go.
There we go. Okay.
Hey, okay.
Speak
All right,
quick.
so-
It could be
we
my
said-
phone is over.
One more very important thing, and then you were gone.
That is, bring your guns, because we do have concealed carry there at the convention. This was really huge for us because normally the convention does not allow firearms in there. And we said, well, then we're not bringing the thousands of people that we're going to bring if you're not going to allow that. And so they made a concession for us. So Tennessee has constitutional carry, and in the convention, you can conceal carry. There's not open carry, but there is concealed carry.
Right. So
I wanted to make
everybody
sure
can
to get
go.
that out.
Yeah, and that's important. Everybody can go. You're not excluding anybody because any gun
Exactly.
owner who doesn't have a permit anywhere can still conceal in Tennessee. So they're all good. So
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if I can bring all my guns, Erich.
What can you conceal, Bruce?
Bring your 2 or 3 favorites.
At least bring your barbecue gun, right? The pretty
Yep.
one that you show off at barbecues.
Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad you had a chance to talk about
Absolutely.
goals and stuff, and update everybody on all this other stuff going on. Yeah, we too have been pushing to voter registration and to get the 277,000 gun owners in Virginia that are not even registered to vote, trying to get some of those guys online.
Good. Good. Well, that's going to be a big push for the
Yeah,
next couple months. So thank you for doing that, Phil.
yeah. Next year is a big one in Virginia.
Yeah.
The governor's race next year, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the entire House is up for grabs. Very important for
Yes,
our group and you. You're in Virginia. You got your headquarters is up in Northern Virginia.
that's right.
Yes,
That's
and
right.
to
Near
tell
DC.
people just how important it is, if the 2025 elections go the wrong way, we will be looking at another
2019.
thing like 2019, 2020. So,
That's right.
because the governor that we have now has been our firewall. You saw all of the bad bills that got passed in the last legislative session. So Governor Youngkin vetoed 36 bad gun bills.
38.
38 bad gun bills. Yes. So without that firewall there, we could be in terrible shape.
Yeah, we would look like Colorado just got hit. Boy, Colorado got kicked pretty bad.
Or New York. We could look like New
Yeah.
York if it goes that bad. So it's really important to get all those people registered to vote and then drag them to the polls kicking and screaming if you have to, but get them to vote. So anyway, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Erich. I know we're keeping you from your family and this is your last night with them. So you go and enjoy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see you next. We'll see
All
you
right,
next week.
guys. Well, I look forward. Remember, it's free for all GOA members. So we
Yes.
look forward to seeing you there.
And
If you want to read more about it, just go to goals.
we're losing your audio. I
heard him
posted.
okay.
I could hear
Yeah.
him fine, Pat.
I heard him fine, Pat.
Okay, then I'm losing audio.
Okay.
I'll post the link to the website again in the chat. I posted it at the beginning. There's links so you can make hotel reservations and sign up for the event. So by all means, do it.
Thank you, everybody. Take
Okay.
Thank you, Erich.
Yeah, Eric.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Erich. Take care.
All right, quick, get a screenshot. There he goes.
Yeah, well, let's see. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. Having all the guns, that's just a big bonus. It was one thing to be there with all these, who's who of the gun community, be able to talk to all these people that are out there fighting one from one angle or another to protect their rights. But on top of that, you can go in there and talk, I'm sure, to Sig Sauer and Glock and everybody else to see all the new stuff coming out. There could even be an introduction there. I wouldn't be surprised if a gun or two isn't introduced at that show. Wouldn't be
That'd be
surprised
neat.
at all. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really nice of Erich to come on tonight too, the last night of his vacation with the family and everything. So we really appreciate him taking
What part of Florida was he in?
us. I don't recall.
Well, he did say he was out toward the Panhandle because the storm missed him. So it would have been northern Florida.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Where their headquarters, where their capital is, probably. Okay. So we were going to talk about some other things going on with like lawsuits that are in progress right now. That's where our major battle has been lately. It's been just in the courts, and if it's not us doing it, other people are doing things. There have been some rulings recently. One that came down, and the Fourth Circuit is such a such a mess. It really is. They've got some really good people in there, but they got some really bad people as well in the Fourth Circuit, the federal Fourth Circuit. And there's been a long battle over the assault weapon ban they have in Maryland, and and this was where things went really weird. Over a year ago, a panel in the Fourth Circuit was ready to issue a formal ruling on this, and it was pulled back, and then for a year nothing happened. So the ruling's sitting there unpublished for a year. And the reason that happened was highly unusual and highly suspect. Some hanky panky was going on higher up in the Fourth Circuit, and they basically put that on hold and decided that the whole Fourth Circuit was going to hear the case. Very unusual. They normally do not do this. And so, and my understanding is the ruling that was going to come down would have said that the ban in Maryland is unconstitutional. Instead, they held that, didn't release that. And then now, just the en banc, the entire court ruled, and the majority said that it is constitutional. So that's frustrating, especially for people in Maryland, but it actually sets things up for the Supreme Court now to step in, because the Supreme Court had already looked at this case and sent it back to the lower courts and said, you need to reconsider this under Bruin. And here they reconsidered it and screwed it up, and now it's going to go back up there. And so the good news is, if the court does indeed take this now, and I would hope they would, they're going to have. I am just convinced they're going to say it's unconstitutional under their own Heller ruling. In Heller, they said any gun that's in common use is protected by the Second Amendment, because the guns that aren't are guns that are both, and it's not an or, it's an and, dangerous and unusual. All guns are dangerous. Even a 22 short can kill you. So all guns are dangerous, but it's got to be that, but it's also got to be unusual. And anything in common use, by definition, the standard definition of unusual, it doesn't fit. Unusual is a very, very odd case out there, something that rarely happens. So the gun control crowd is just trying to stretch this out as long as they can. They're probably hoping for another case where a Supreme Court justice on the conservative side dies or something, and then they can maybe try to get Bruin knocked down. They're just dragging out and hoping. But that, if things will keep rolling, then hopefully in the 2024-2025 session, we may finally get the assault weapon situation straightened out. We'll see. But what's amazing is, even when you straighten it out, it seems like these places like New York decide, no, they're just going to ignore that and do what they want to do.
It's like they throw stuff up against a wall just to see if it sticks, and
they're doing it all the time.
And it's ridiculous. I think they're trying to slow the process down too, especially since we are in an election year, like a big election year.
Yeah. And of course, Kamala is trying to run from her record. She had said, "Oh yeah, we need to confiscate or do a forced buyback of all these ARs." And now, oh no, we don't need to do that. Again, she's trying to play the game. Well, you can keep what you got. We'll just make future things illegal.
Yeah,
right.
And you cannot sell out the next generation. We don't have that right to take away the future of young people that have yet to buy an AR or whatever. We have to fight that stuff. But that's
the other game that they play too is they drag it out because they're using our money against us, and so they'll stall and use all of these tactics to make the case last longer and longer and cost the plaintiffs more and more and more money, hoping that for instance, some of the plaintiffs may age out or die or have something so that they're no longer qualified, they no longer have standing, or they may run out of money, or so many things can happen that disqualify the case. So they play these stall tactics, just hoping that they can win by default. And it's criminal the way that they use these things against people instead of just honoring our right to a speedy trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing speedy about suing on this stuff. It's horrendous how long it takes, and
Absolutely, and the
that's why
money
an
that it
election.
takes.
Yes, it's why an election's better. I mean, you get the right people in there, changing the laws a whole lot quicker and more secure than going through the courts and hoping everything lines up properly. Uh, but that's what we're stuck with. It's not just us. Like I say, these attacks are going on everywhere. I'm just telling everybody. I don't care what state you're in. You better be looking over your shoulder and watching what's going on. Don't take anything for granted wherever you are. I don't care where it is. At one point, Colorado was a solid state, but now they just they've got all kinds of bad laws. 8 of them, I think, that are taking effect there now.
Yep.
That are bad news, and that's Colorado. Texas is okay right now, but they too are having to watch. They're getting a lot of immigrants, if you will, from California, and it's like a cancer. The cancer starts in California, and then it spreads because the people flee that place, and yet where they go, they want to make that the same as California. So why don't you stay? Why do you want? Did you get tired of the Pacific Ocean? I mean, why did you want to look at the Rio Grande instead of the Pacific Ocean? Why are you fleeing this paradise you've created with gun control and to come to somewhere like Texas? So, and by the way, on elections too, I just saw this as well. Our governor has done some executive orders to make sure that illegal aliens cannot vote in our upcoming elections. They're catching the ones that are on that list and stripping them out of the voter list and stuff like that. So he's doing a good job. And again, that should be encouraging to people that are saying, "Oh, what's the point in voting?" No, there's a big point in voting. If there wasn't a big point in voting, you wouldn't have people like Bloomberg that's pledging to give $47 million on this election.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there can be cheating, but there's a limit as to how far it can go. And if we're all voting, then they can't play that game. And if you got our governor watching for this and hopefully doing something when he catches people, that will also help.
What is it, Philip? Too big to rig?
Yeah. That's probably the case if you do it right. So, I thought that was interesting, and kudos to the governor for making sure that the people that vote are the people that live and are citizens of the state and of the U.S.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody's Warsaw Patriots pointing out that Washington State is worse than California. It's gotten that way. It's another example. Yeah, and their concealed carry permits now they're at 700,000. That's gone up quite a bit for them. For us, that's about what we have here in Virginia. I wonder how many people live in Washington State. We've got 8.5 million here.
Philip, when you said 700, it went up to 700. I was wondering if you were talking cost or people.
Oh, people, 700,000. Yeah, it'd be, but I wonder how big that state is.
7.8 million roughly.
So they're smaller than us. Okay. So they've got they're under great threat. This is always the problem, Pat. When a lot of gun owners won't get active till there's a threat, till the enemy's at the door, then suddenly it's time to wake up. So now they've got a bunch of permit holders.
8 million now in 2024.
Okay, so they're still behind us.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that the complacency. I'm curious as to what is going to happen, especially after this presidential election, and the awakening of especially gun owners. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the 300,000, I believe it is.
277 here.
Yeah, that are not registered to vote. I mean, this election, regardless of how it turns out, should have people running to go get registered to vote, especially if they want to protect, because it's going to be one, we're going to have to, if let me put it this way, if the two-way president that we have gets the spot, or the two-way candidate gets the spot, we are going to have to work very hard to make sure that we are rooted and grounded in the two-way here in Virginia. And then again, if the anti-two-way candidate wins, we're going to have to make sure that we are rushing to the polls and making sure that our elections here in Virginia go the way we want them to.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way to put it.
ideally we got to do good in both elections. That's the
Yes.
ideal thing. I
I mean,
just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with all this. I can't believe all the people that still don't realize that we're sailing towards a cliff. I don't understand how can you miss that? I mean, I know you can be busy raising families and stuff like that, but it's like driving a car. Sometimes you got to look up from your cell phone to see where
Hey,
you are on the road.
Philip, maybe we need to resurrect that picture of the buffalo and just put a different terminology in there.
Yeah, you're talking about from the 2020,
Yeah, when they said
the
that we were
Buffalo.
going, they were just going to put us in one spot so they could kill us all, and people were refusing to show up. And it's like, no, freedom's worth it. You
Yeah.
know, worst case, okay, you die, but freedom's worth it.
Yes.
And it's amazing how many people don't understand that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You look at all the people that gave their lives so that we could be here. There how many millions and millions and millions and millions of people have given their lives as patriots. Yeah,
Right.
it's worth it. It's worth it. It is. But we had quite a few people show up, but I do know that many were frightened. But yeah, that's what it was for those of you that may not have been around in 2020. Some guy, I don't know that he was anti-gun, but he was just convinced that this huge rally that we were going to have was going to be something where they were going to set us up. Of course, we had a governor that none of us trusted, Northam, but that we were going to be in this area disarmed, and then something was going to happen, and then it was going to end up being an intentional bloodbath kind of thing, and then we would get blamed for having started all this. Of course, none of that came to pass, but there were. Yeah, his example was Indians running buffaloes off of a cliff to kill them, stampeding them, and that we were being stampeded to our death, kind of a thing. But I never got an
Absolutely.
apology from that guy saying, "No, it's totally wrong." I never heard a word. I don't know why that seems to be the case always.
It's funny. I met a couple out when I was grocery shopping, and they were like, "Well, we don't know if we're coming. It's gonna." I said, "No, come, just come. You will have the time of your life. Just come." Little did I realize what a time of the life it would be. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it would be, but I thought it would be awesome, and I
Yeah.
was sadly mistaken.
Oh, you had no idea.
I
Well,
was very impressed. I mean, I was a brand new mom, and I can remember calling up my rally buddy, and just little one's actually peeking his head in the door. But I remember calling up my rally buddy and telling her, I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, are the rumors true? I mean, should we should we think about this? And then I get there, and it was probably, you didn't meet a stranger. I mean, it
No.
was just, everybody was
mhm.
so friendly. It's so many different groups, lots of diversity. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, it was probably
I,
something very
I'm
memorable for
I'm
me.
so glad I have that body cam of all that stuff going on. I had that body cam on that day. That has got such great memories of all the people that were there,
Oh yeah.
talking to them, the fellow speakers that were behind the scenes, everything. It was just it was great. And if we could do that every time, but sadly, it's not the case. But we can just get people to vote. That would be wonderful. So, what were you say, Bruce?
I was going to say, I absolutely loved all the folks that were walking around, all the diverse folks that were walking around with the signs that said, "I'm a white supremacist."
Yeah.
Yes, of all different colors and genders and religious preferences, you name it, every demographic under the sun and then some were represented there.
Truly a
I think
melting pot.
there were so many memorable moments that it's really hard to pick a favorite, but I think if I had to pick one, it would be the reporter that wrote us afterwards and said that she had been assigned to cover the event and she was terrified. But once she got there and was walking around and talking to the people, she said she never felt safer in her life. And it moved her enough that she was compelled to contact us and let us know that.
Yeah,
So,
that's unusual. And
mhm,
except for one station that I know of, nobody mentioned that when it was over with, there was no, well, nothing happened. This was a completely
right,
it just disappeared. The
right,
narrative they were hoping for and praying for didn't happen. They were
yes.
hoping for that buffalo stampede, and they didn't get it.
Right. I can remember also standing in front of one of the buildings. I can't remember. It was right outside the fence, and there were state officers inside. It was a huge window, and it was my group of people. I'd met up with a bunch of people from all over the U.S., and I can remember the state officers and us had a posturing game. We started, like how they posture. They stand in the windows to protect the building. So they would bring in three officers to stand, and then three of us would stand and stare at them, and we would just get to laughing and cutting up with these state officers just for having a good time. They were having a good time. There
Yeah,
was a
yeah. The
couple of them
police were
that
there.
they
They
were
were
having
they were great. Yeah,
they were like, we are not even worried about you. I mean, one of them came out and even said something to one of us and said, "We're not worried about y'all. It's just we're just watching out for somebody who's going to take advantage,
yeah.
and we'll
Actually,
watch out for them."
they're watching out for us,
Yes,
not
Mhm.
yeah,
yes,
trying to make sure that some evil person didn't come up and try to start something. And I thank them for that. I thank them for their efforts.
yeah.
As part of the setup we had, I remember discussing it when we were going through all this stuff. And Pat, didn't you say that when you were calling the state trying to organize spots for the porta potties that people thanked us for, over and over again? Didn't you say that originally they were going to put it in front of the lieutenant governor's building or something
Oh
like
yes, yes. They were going to put it out in front of the AG's office, and
That
Great.
would have been so fitting with that AG.
uh-huh, that was
Uh,
priceless. But they did move it
Herring.
around to a side street. But yeah, that whole thing, organizing that event, Philip and I organized that event with help from Tess and Layla and a few other of our executive members. And that whole thing was organized in 2 months.
Yeah,
And
and they kept moving the goalposts.
they
We kept
did.
chasing the goalposts.
Every time that we'd get something straight, they would move the goalpost and say, "Oh, never mind, we're not doing it that way. We want you to do it this way." And then every time we would get people calmed down, the governor would open his mouth and say something else inflammatory. And I sat in one of the meetings. We would have to go to meetings in a secure building and talk to the Capitol Police Chief and the Richmond Police Chief and
And
this
the state
whole
police.
this whole board
gaggle?
of people that were in charge of this and in charge of that. And they were talking about security issues, and I just looked at them one day and I said, we've been steadily putting out the fires. You guys, if something happens, that if something bad happens at this event, it's on your heads, because every time we get people calmed down, you guys say something that just inflames the masses. And you are the reason that this event has gotten so big, and you are the reason that people are so upset. So don't pin it
Yes.
on us. And that Philip looked at me
Hmm.
like ooh, you didn't say that. But I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
You sometimes you just have to come right out and say what it is that's going on. And the fact of the matter was that the whole hoopla was because of inflammatory things that were being said by the people that should have been working to keep it peaceful, um, Fifth Amendment, First Amendment event where we go and talk to our legislators and let them know what we think. So,
Yeah, but no, then they have to set up fences. They have to put up metal
uh-huh.
detectors. They have to,
That
Line
And
the
they
That
had
place
was,
with snipers.
and
I
they had
think,
to leave town.
Hmm.
Yeah. The governor left town after all of that. The governor left town.
just
So he doesn't
ridiculous.
trust his own safety precautions.
No.
It was so ridiculous. That was, I believe that was the rumor that I heard, that if you went into the what did they call it?
The cage.
The
The
cage.
cage. Yeah.
Yeah, that
We were all
was,
going to get sniped,
Yeah.
or
and
Antifa was supposed to
Oh,
sabotage the event, or
they
um,
behaved.
yeah,
and there was, yeah, I think some people may have showed up, took one look, and walked away and said, "Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to cause any trouble today."
yeah.
But they were so strict about things there that they wouldn't even allow an off-duty officer to carry in that area. Not even the sheriff. We had a sheriff speaking, two
Hmm.
sheriffs actually, and I think they had to disarm. If
Hmm.
I was the sheriff, I would have told the rest of the police. I'd have said, "Up yours. I'm a constitutional officer. I'm not disarming. Tough luck." You know.
Oh, and the other thing was, all of the other events that had been scheduled for that day canceled. And so we had asked them, since all of them canceled, can we speak for more than an hour? Oh no,
Oh no.
you cannot. You have a half hour to set up, you have an hour to speak, and you have a half hour to take down. Those are the rules. And so it took an act of God for us to be able to use a PA system that could be heard more than 20 feet away, because what they usually gave us was a little wood podium that had a built-in speaker in it, and it was probably 2 watts. And
Yeah, it
you
might
know,
be good for 50 people, not
right, right.
50,000.
Yeah,
Hmm.
conference room.
And
Yeah,
so they kept saying, well, you can't have it loud enough that they can hear you in the office buildings. I'm like,
there's
you're
somebody
kidding,
here.
right? There's going to be 50,000 people there, and you're worried about these little speakers being heard in the office buildings?
Yeah, they were
Okay.
worried about all kinds of minutia. It was just
Hmm.
everything to
It was
discourage everything.
that. I remember that. I remember getting word from one of my little moles in Mom's Demand in Virginia, that they said, they canceled. They canceled everything.
Uh-huh.
They're scared to death. They're
Oh
scared
yeah.
to death. And I was like, this is awesome. This is
Yes,
so
it's
awesome.
absolute. Well,
It's
yeah,
just,
Well,
I've seen them.
they're so scared of us that at other rallies, not the 2021, but at other rallies, they have walked through our crowd, actually pushed our members that were armed at the time in Capitol Square. It was before the ban in Capitol Square. And then last year, we had somebody that came and held up signs when Bruce was talking, and
oh,
um,
Bruce.
No, actually, I
threatened
chased her
him
down, Pat.
that she was going to hurt him in a private place and all kinds of things. So
Yeah, get out of my way or I'll kick you somewhere.
yes,
And the police
yes.
escorted her off the property. I was disappointed, though. I thought maybe Bruce should have went and said, "I want to file charges against her."
You're gonna kick
So,
my
Actually, when she
ammo.
was in my face, I was about ready to ask her out just to see how she responded.
But she
But
was obviously scared, and then she went across the street to the guys that were
the
carrying long
militia,
guns
the militia
and
guys, yeah.
and started heckling them. So I mean,
And to
obviously she's
their credit, they did a great job with her. They really did.
mhm.
Incredibly patient with that woman. She was
Yeah.
trying to be so obnoxious, and they just rolled with the punches. It took all the wind out of her sails.
yeah, it's funny
Yes.
because I'd forgotten all about that.
Was
Yeah.
she Mom's
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
man?
Yes.
She
Yes.
was
Yeah.
Mom's fan. Okay, I can only imagine which one she is. I mean, just with all of them that I've ran into. So
We got video. We got
like, they're,
plenty of video of her.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. Demand is a good term. So they are
She wanted Bruce's action.
uh-huh.
Well, Jared was talking, and as soon as she started, basically, I just got between her, and a couple of people handed me signs, so I just held our signs in front of hers, so she had no audience.
Right. Yeah, and she was
Yeah.
trying to get in front of the cameras with her signs and block Jared
And we never
and
do that to the other side. We've never done anything even close to that. They're just, I tell you what,
Hold on.
the difference between gun owners and the anti-gun crowd, it's night and day. Those people are just obnoxious.
oh, they've
They
been
don't
kicked out
like
of
each
committee
other, and
meetings.
Sure, they have. Oh, yeah.
They
And they
found
don't
out.
like each other, and I can understand why.
Philip, don't you
Right.
remember the year we had a rally and after that they found a suspicious package? So they moved their whole rally up and found out that Chip had left his camera bag at the
Yeah.
bell tower.
So they got this primo spot out of the excuse that somebody had left
Right.
something there. But I noticed that Tom Jefferson in the comments said Governor Youngkin deserves a big thank you from all the vetoes. Well,
Absolutely.
we Pat created a beautiful coin that we're going to present to him when we get the opportunity. It's a unique, one of a kind that's got his picture on there, and it's actually copper, solid copper that's been etched, just like the other coins that we have that we're selling, the challenge coins. This is a one of a kind challenge coin for the governor. It mentions all 38 bills. It's got his likeness on one side of that. So at
Nice.
some point we'll present that to him. But yeah, we did do a thank you session, thank you alert emails and stuff afterwards. And
Right.
certainly when we
And
present the coin, we'll thank him again.
there's still challenge coins available if anybody wants to get one. That they're $50 a piece, and the funds that VCDL is raising from the sale of those coins is helping to fund the lawsuits that we've got going on. So right now we are waiting on a decision on the universal background check case. And we have the one handgun a month case that's gearing up. And we have a case in Roanoke about parks and permitted events, um, challenging their ban on guns at parks and permitted events. We have a case in
Winchester.
Winchester, the city of Winchester, about parking garages, is it?
Yes, parking
And
garages. If they're claiming that's a sensitive government building.
right. And then there's a couple of more that we will be announcing very soon that we're gearing up on. The paperwork is in the process, so we can't say anything yet, but there's two more lawsuits that we're working on. And then isn't there one federal case that we're involved? Oh, the engaged in a business
Yes,
case that we're
but
in with
we've
GOA, Tennessee Firearms Association, and 4 states or 5 states.
I think it's 4. And also, again, some people. Well, first of all, let me say that we're covered as a group under that by the court. The court ruled basically, if you're a member of GOA or VCDL, you're covered. You're exempt from any of this stuff that ATF is doing to the rest of the country, where they could go after you for even a single gun sale if you make a profit and claim you're a dealer that's unlicensed, in which case put you in prison for 10 years and cost you $250,000. You're exempt if you're a member. But one thing that I get reminded every now and then is some people think because they get a VA alert email every week from me that they're members. That doesn't make you a member. That makes
Right,
you a subscriber to VA alert. If you pay us $25 every year, then you're a member. So if you haven't sent us a check in a while, you're not a member. And it doesn't matter if you became a member later now. The way the judge, his ruling went, if you're a member, you're covered. He didn't say you had to be an existing member. He said a member. So as people join, they're covered as well. So again, if you're not sure, you can check with our membership director if you have any doubts about you being a member.
sure. Email membership at vcdl.org and ask. So if you are a paid member, when you log in, you'll be able to participate in the member forum. If you are a VA Alert member, you can log in, but you won't be able to see the forum. And you can check by clicking on your profile and seeing what type of member you are. If it just says VA Alert, then you're not a paid member. So if you think you are, but it says VA Alert, email membership at vcdl.org and ask Sandy to check for you, and she'll make sure that you don't have two separate accounts there.
Unless
So
you like having two accounts, in which case we'll just send you two renewal notices.
Yeah.
$25.
And a couple other things too. Early voting in Virginia begins on September 20th, so we're just a little over a month out. And what you might want to do is go down and vote in person. But early voting does begin again. A lot of us don't like that. We prefer that we have a day to vote on. But if this is the game that they want to play, then we need to play it.
Yeah.
You
right,
know,
and it's important too to remember that there have been people that showed up on election day in November to vote and have been told, I'm sorry, you voted already. So, um, somebody had apparently requested a mail-in ballot on behalf of
Yeah.
somebody else and then voted in their stead. And then you're stuck with um, having to do a provisional vote or contest it or whatever. And you don't want that to happen. So if you can go down and vote in person early, voting in person ensures that your vote gets there and it's counted correctly. And voting early ensures that somebody else doesn't vote for you.
that's right. Kind of looking at something else here. There was another. I'm looking at some of the things that are going to be in the next alert. Um, I've got some more stuff on Kamala and her, and her running mate there, Tim. What the kind of stuff that they talk about doing. I think most of you out there know that's a bad combination all the way around. Either of them are bad, but I want to make sure that the word gets spread about what they've said about guns, both of them, and what they've attempted to do. Um, we had a case in Texas that just happened of a good guy who saved a young girl from being raped right out in front of his house. He ran out with a gun and scared the guy off, but he was right in the middle of getting ready to rape a young, I don't know if she was 13 or 14-year-old
Yeah.
girl. So this happens all the time, and it's frustrating when the gun control crowd says, "Oh, there's never, it's never happens that somebody with a permit or whatever saves a life." And it's just it happens all the time. But there's some really good examples like that one.
Absolutely. And we had Tom Grieve on a couple of months ago, and he has compiled a lot of statistics, one of which was that for every time a firearm is used criminally, it's used 16 times for a defensive use. So that's a phenomenal ratio there, and it just blows out of the water the false statistic that the gun control people spout about if you own a gun, it's more likely to be used against you than it is to be used to save your life. Um, it's just so many falsehoods that they
Yeah,
spout. And if you repeat a lie often enough, people believe it.
yeah. They start hearing,
So
that must be true. Yeah,
yeah, so we need to start repeating the truth as much as we possibly can. And knowing the truth is half the battle. So that when somebody says something like that to you, you can say,
catch
well,
them.
wait a minute, what about this?
Yeah,
And point them in the right direction. Just like Paul Glasgow on Legally Armed America. Every month at the beginning of the month, he takes the gun violence archive, which is quoted by so many politicians and used as statistics for passing these bans all over the country. And he goes through all of the supposed mass shootings and debunks the statistics that are being published on the internet and used to take away our rights. So, know the truth.
yeah. I think actually one of the gun control groups is moving away from them because I guess probably because their statistics are finally, the lights being shined on those false statistics. By the way, there were a couple other court cases I meant to bring up.
Let me just
Here, go
real
ahead.
quick, and then so Tom Jefferson says arguing with the Democrat is futile. Absolutely. arguing with somebody that is set in their ways and um, doesn't listen is futile. But all of the people standing around that are listening to that argument, that's what you're stating the facts for. So,
Mhm.
it's online. People read those comments, and if you can spark that curiosity, and maybe somebody will go and actually look up the facts for themselves, then you are accomplishing the
Or in
purpose.
a verbal
So,
debate, if the other guy's frothing at the mouth and you're calm and you're respectful and factual, you're gonna
mhm.
probably win that just on that alone. People will look at you and say, "Well, that's the same guy. This guy over here frothing must have rabies." So we're not going to listen to a lunatic.
Yep.
So absolutely, how you comport yourself will make a big difference. Yeah,
So
do keep that
other
in mind.
cases,
Your audience is bigger than you might think.
right?
Other
So other
cases,
lawsuits.
yeah, we had a judge here in Virginia protected a gun manufacturer from a frivolous lawsuit because of a shooting that happened in Washington D.C. Well, a judge, a federal judge in Virginia, basically said the PLCAA, the protects manufacturers from these kind of lawsuits. He upheld that part and threw their case out. So that was very positive to protect these gun manufacturers from exactly that kind of baloney. Oh, it's your fault, Mr. Gun Manufacturer. You had the ability to read people's minds, and you knew that that gun you're making was going to be used to murder my brother. It's more of the lunacy out there. The other ruling was in Maryland. Whoa, Maryland's a positive ruling. And a judge up there struck down some of Maryland's gun control up there. He didn't strike down all of it, but he struck down a bunch of it. And this is in Maryland. So it kind of tells you the courts are, and he used the Bruin decision as one of the reasons that he struck down a bunch of sensitive places that Maryland was setting up. He said, no, those aren't sensitive places, and knocked them out. So there's a lot of good stuff going on around us in the courts that we're trying to keep our eyes on all this stuff because it's all moving in the right direction. It's very little. It's on the court side that's going the wrong way. Again, the Fourth Circuit went the wrong way, but in the end, their foolishness in what they did and the way they approached it by saying, "No, we're done with this." They didn't send it back to the lower courts. The Fourth Circuit could have said, "No, you misruled. We think it's unconstitutional. Go back and look at it again based on what we're saying." He didn't do that. They said, "We're done. It's unconstitutional." Boom. And when they did that, it opened the case up to go right to the Supreme Court.
Mhm.
And I don't think they did that intentionally, but they're not fools. So I don't have a good explanation as to how that happened, unless their emotions got to them about how much they hate guns that they just closed their minds and said, "Look, we're just not, we're going to not." I don't know, but it played into our hands, which is not
Mhm.
something you would expect, but there it is.
Right. Yeah, it's a very exciting time right now. There is a lot changing. A lot is going to depend on the Supreme Court. So that's one reason it's really important to make sure that Harris doesn't get in there, because if she appoints a Supreme Court justice, that could change the balance of power, and we could see these decisions going away that we really don't want. And you think overturning legislation is hard,
Hmm.
overturning a Supreme Court decision is even harder. So it's really important to show up
And
this year, well, for all elections. But Philip, the other thing you wanted to talk about tonight, and we're getting a little short on time, was the Fifth Amendment. Um, so you had, go ahead.
Oh, you were talking about the. I guess I was going to talk about the case here in Virginia, where
Hmm.
the four guys got arrested. One of them, they were carrying at a something that at the time the police were thinking was a school, and that's an important issue. Again, it's so easy when you find yourself being confronted by the police over something to want to just talk hopefully trying to set something aside so that it doesn't get any worse. But the general advice on this stuff is the Fifth Amendment is just as important as the Second Amendment as far as the genius of our founding fathers that said, you know what, it's important that under any condition a person has the right to protect themselves and not be forced to ever testify against themselves. And if you're sitting there, in this case, these gentlemen were confronted by a sheriff's deputy while they were leaving and this area. Again, the contention was it was a school because there was a school board meeting there, which doesn't make it a school. And they had a daycare center there, or some kind of or maybe a preschool, but it wasn't operational. And under Virginia law, if it's not operating, it doesn't count as a school. So nothing there. They were good, but what had happened was they all went in with a concealed gun to the school board meeting, and one of the guys wasn't paying attention, and his shirt rode up over the gun butt. And when he went up to speak at the podium, some people saw that he obviously had a gun. He didn't realize it had been exposed. So after the meeting, they left, and the sheriffs intercepted them, the sheriff's deputies. And basically, they got into a discussion back and forth about who had guns and was that a school zone and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't work out at all for them. They ended up being arrested. The one guy that was the guy's gun was showing, I think it was, he got he got in trouble because his permit had expired. So now he was carrying concealed without a permit, and so it was a mess. And my suggestion in a case like that, if at all you think they're looking at you with suspicious eyes, the police, that's when you want to shut up. Your odds of making it better are very tiny versus the odds of you just saying something innocent that makes it worse. So the suggestion is, and you have to tell them you're taking the Fifth Amendment. You can't just shut up. What you do is say, officer, if you think I've done anything wrong, I'm taking the Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to say anymore, and I'm not going to talk to you until I talk to a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yes, and then
you leave
keep
it
your mouth shut, because if
point,
you start
keep it shut.
talking again, you have given up your Fifth Amendment right. Yes.
Now the officer might say, "Well, I'm gonna search your car." Well, we would tell you don't interfere with that, but don't allow them. Don't tell them it's okay. So at that point, you could say something. You could say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches of myself or my car.
Right.
However, I'm not going to interfere with an unlawful search if that's what you're going to do." And then
Or you
leave it
can
at
just
that.
say, I don't consent, and leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
I don't consent to search of the car or myself. I don't consent to any searches.
and have a lawyer. So there's a number of legal plans out there and retainer services and things like that, or just have a lawyer that you have their number and can call and say, this is the situation, I need you to talk for me, and let your lawyer do the talking. They know what to say and what not to say. So I'm going to go back for 1 second because Mitchell Ring said that his account was hacked and he doesn't have access to his email and can't get into his account. Email membership@vcdl.org. Explain the situation to Sandy and she'll get you back in. So, and if any of you have any questions about your membership, when you expire, and by the way, the vast majority of VCDL members, their membership is up for renewal at the end of September. So you can save VCDL money by logging into vcdl.org and renewing online now so that we don't have to mail you out a renewal notice.
Couple of points on that, Pat. One thing, we pull the lists. It takes a while for us to process them and get the mail out. So sometimes you'll renew, and after you renewed, you'll get a renewal notice. It's just, we're an all-volunteer network, and sometimes things happen a little slow. And as the stuff guy, I'd like to let you know that we are working on getting some additional envelopes for the return mail when you renew that contains your membership card on the carrier and the cards and the stickers and everything else. and we're working on getting more of those done. We're just proofing a couple of the forms that we're putting into it, and then we have to get them produced and then get them all to where they need to be to get all put together. So there might be a small delay on actually getting you your return mail. It depends on how quickly the printer can get the envelopes. For some reason, orange just doesn't seem to be an on-the-shelf item as far as envelopes go.
Wait
So
till October.
so so
Mhm.
sometimes actually the thing is that might be good because we do get a better price because they print them before they fold them and glue them together, believe it or not. So anyway,
Interesting.
just wanted to let people know that. So we are working that. We're trying to get it done. We're very close to it being finished and being sent to the printers to print it, and then get the material to the folks that are going to put it together for us. And then you'll have it. You might not even notice a glitch, but I'm saying this just in case. Both items, that and the fact that there is a delta between us pulling the lists and actually getting the renewal notifications out there. So you might get a renewal notification after you renewed. Don't freak. It happens. You have probably renewed fine. If you're concerned, you can just send an email to membership@vcdl.org, and she'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have and that time of year in all her copious spare time.
Okay.
Right. And
And I
the
have,
other way that you may experience a delay is if you pay with an e-check online. When you pay with an e-check, it takes roughly a week to 2 weeks for that to clear. So if you're joining and you pay with an e-check, or if you're expired and renew with an e-check, then it can take time for your membership account to actually be activated. And during that time that you're expired, or until the check clears, you may not be able to log into vcdl.org. So just be aware of that. That does not hold true for paying with a credit or debit card. Also, if you join or renew at a gun show, it takes time for our gun show coordinators to process the paperwork and send it down to Sandy, who then has to enter it into the system manually. So bear with us on that. That can take a little time also.
yes. And also, I wanted to remind everybody, not this Thursday, because that's the gold conference is coming up this week, but the next Thursday following, the 22nd, we have that meeting here in Central Virginia in Chesterfield County. It's in a library in Chesterfield. It's a different library than the one we usually use. That one was booked, but this one looks to be every bit as good. It's not too far from the other one, but it is a different library. And we'll have a guest, Tyler, who was the person that he just had a couple of rounds of ammunition that he had no idea was in the bottom of one of his bags in the Grand Turks. And he was looking at 12 years mandatory, 12 years of his life as a young father. He was sitting there beside himself. I mean, because his child would be way grown up before he would ever have a chance. See, for over a couple, he didn't have a gun. He just had a couple of pieces of ammo. They have since changed their laws because they were getting pounded down there over this kind of stuff. He wasn't the only one. There were quite a few other people that had been caught up. But it was about the time that happened to him that this really started making the news and the word was getting out. So he'll be there to speak. I think that'd be a fascinating thing to hear what all went on in his experiences down in the Grand Turks with it. It's
Right.
something I
And
hope none of us ever have to go through.
Hey,
I've
Philip, can I
seen
carpool
some.
with you?
Yeah,
Can I carpool?
yeah, yeah. I'll drive a 40 an hour and 15 minutes to get you, and then we'll both come back to my life.
So
So,
I've seen some comments online of people asking how can someone be so careless? It can happen easily. Um,
Yeah,
you know, I have seen I have found shell casings in my car before, and if you drive into DC and you have a shell casing in your car and they search your car and find it, that is gun paraphernalia, which is against the law in DC, and you can be prosecuted for that. Um, I've been in line at the grocery store and stuck my hand in my coat pocket and found um, a cartridge that I had taken out at the range because it was a carry round and I was shooting my carry gun, and I stuck the one that was in the chamber in my pocket and set the full mag down. And then when I reloaded, I didn't put that in my magazine. So I mean, it can happen.
I have that case I've often mentioned, but some people here may not have heard about it. I used to have a corduroy suit coat that I would wear in the winter, and sometimes I put a magazine in the pocket. Well, apparently at some point a round fell out of the magazine. There was a small hole in the pocket, and the round fell into the liner at the bottom of the coat. I don't know how long it was there before one day I was putting the coat up and I felt this lump. I said, what the heck is this down at the bottom of my coat? It wasn't in a pocket. It was down in the lining. And I finally worked it up and I found the hole, worked it up, and it was a bullet, a cartridge. So that's how easy this could happen. So be careful with the holier than thou stuff. Don't think it can't happen to you. It can happen to you.
Two things: working at a range with that get stuck in the treads of my boot. I get home, I get undressed to take a shower, and the brass that gets caught up in certain places when you work at a range, it was like I could almost play a song with all the brass hitting the floor in the bathroom. So yeah, stuff like that can happen most assuredly.
You know, in DC, they would get you for having that cartridge case, even though it wasn't a full round of ammo, just a case.
Well, that being an unlicensed music vendor.
That's right. Hurting everybody's ears when you walk by with all this squeaky noise.
So
yeah, I've got shoes that catch that brass too, just like that. Absolutely.
So what was it? The one guy in DC had a lead for a black powder gun, and the judge says, nope, its purpose was a bullet, so it's not lead, it's a bullet, so it's unregistered ammunition.
Yeah, I think it's a felony, but that's just bad. But anyhow, yeah, we always have to be careful. It's, one can make a mistake. It's especially when you carry all the time. Yeah, I mean, that's what the gun control crowd doesn't get, because they don't carry a gun. They don't realize that, at first, you're very much aware that you're carrying, but after a while, the human mind adapts to all kinds of things. I don't think I'm wearing a watch all the time. Every now and then I think I might want to look at it, but I'm not constantly aware it's there. And same thing with a gun. So that's good and it's bad. It's good that you're not always thinking about it. You know it's there, but it's bad because it becomes so much a part of your clothes that you don't think about it. You're just walking and you go up to something, you're just not thinking there's a gun there.
Oh, so, I went up to D.C. to talk to Senators Webb and Warner, and I didn't have a briefcase type thing, and so my husband loaned me this briefcase that he used for his 22 stuff. And we went through every single pocket on that thing before I stuffed my documents in there and went on up to the Senate office building and stuck my purse and my briefcase on the conveyor belt and put it on through. And they scanned it. They gave me my stuff. I went to the ladies' room and I came back and they said, "Excuse me, what is this?" And nobody else had been through. And my thing was still up on there. And they showed me the picture of the briefcase. And there was a Ruger Mark II magazine silhouetted on the screen in the briefcase. And I was like, I don't know. But it was some obscure pocket in a pocket in a pocket in that briefcase, and we missed it. Fortunately, it was an empty magazine, but they did confiscate the magazine and they didn't arrest me. So
you came out all right. The magazine's cheap compared to anything else. Yeah, but that's why I hate flying. I used to do it all the time, but it's such a paranoid. Any of these environments like that is so paranoid. You hate to be there. Just I'd much rather drive than fly anymore. It just becomes such a hassle. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to have something like that to happen. You check and you check. The best you could do is make sure that you only have certain cases that you only use for travel. You never put anything in them, but. That's still, it's tough.
Yep. I see we've got Silvermine.
Go ahead, Pat.
We've got Silvermine with us again from Connecticut, and I'm not sure if you're a he or a she, but a member of CCDL. They've been doing great stuff up there in Connecticut too,
Yeah,
fighting
they
some
have.
major battles. You know,
Yeah,
Dan Wass was one of the speakers at Lobby Day. Was it this past year? And came down and was lamenting how bad they have it in New York, and wishing that they could do what we do here in Virginia. And I said, "Are you kidding me? You gave us Bruin, you
yes,
know." So, yeah, you've got it bad up there, but you're still fighting the good fight. So
right,
the moral of that story is don't ever give up. You know,
right. And
we
yeah,
just
the
it's
CCDL is under a lot more pressure than we are. And
Yeah, we
so,
are at war, and it may
Mhm.
be a cold war at the moment, but we are at war and will always be at war. There will always be evil people that want to stomp on our rights and enslave us, and we can't let that happen. So we must stay engaged. When things are good, we have to push harder. When things are bad, we have to push harder.
and we need
So,
people in states that are like that. Like we need the CCDL up there fighting for
absolutely.
Connecticut. If they all fled to some other state, then the gun control crowd would have nothing going. They would have nothing to
Right,
fight against.
right.
This way, they've got to battle. They've got to fight through all this and so forth. So it's hard. Again, people say, well, if Virginia doesn't go this certain way, I'm going to flee to some other state. And all I tell them is just keep fleeing, because if we can't stop it here, and it's going to keep spreading, it's going to be everywhere. We've got to stand up and say, we're not ceding you any ground, other gun controllers, not giving you anything. We're going to take back what you've taken from us so far.
Right.
You can't do that if
Absolutely.
you're busy hiding somewhere. So I guess, yeah, it's a little late. Appreciate everybody hanging in here with us. Certainly
Yes.
enjoyed hearing from Eric. I look forward to seeing him this week coming up
Yes, we
at the
hope
at
to
the
see
Goals Con.
many of you at the Goals Conference this coming week and in Chesterfield the following week.
Mhm.
And we VCDL will have a booth at the Goals Conference. So as you're wandering around, check us out. Um, Thanks for joining in, and share this with your friends tomorrow. They can listen while they're in their boring commute. Um, do all the YouTube things and the Facebook things, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, we'll tell you those that did make it. Maybe we'll have a little report on the Goals show next time.
Yep.
And Philip, since you mentioned her, I dug up an old email. You sent it to me January 16th of this year. So that was about 3,000 emails ago. Brianne, Brianne, Marie Chapman, a.k.a. Anarchy Princess.
That's the lady that tried to kick you in a sensitive area.
Well, that threat,
And,
figured that's how she treats all her dates.
yeah, she was a real prize there. I can tell you that.
I've,
Yes.
Oh, somebody's married to
hey,
that.
I've had worse dates. Trust me. I can tell.
Okay.
I don't know if they screeched like that though.
No, oh boy, that was. See, that's the fun you miss if you don't go to a VCDL rally. You don't have the entertainment of the gun control crowd and all their
Yes.
antics.
Parting thought. Lobby Day is always on the third
We're
Monday in January. Yes, the General Assembly is in session. Yes, it is MLK Day. Plan on being in Richmond. Put in now. It's August. Put in now to take off that
January
Monday and
20th. January
be in
20th.
Richmond. We need you there.
Yep.
We have the same legislature that we had last year, last session. And we really need a good showing so that we don't have almost 40 vetoes again at the end of the session. So plan on being in Richmond.
Yes.
All right,
Remember,
folks,
have a good
it's
night.
time to say goodnight. So we will see you in the next one. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for subscribing, and thanks for your support. Have a good night.